These days, every job is a technology job. Whether you're a programmer, a marketer, or even just someone who sits down in front of a computer every day, you have a stake in the tapestry of the technology industry. Welcome to Wits and Wisdom, a podcast sharing insights, innovations, and inspiration from the award-winning Women in Tech Summit. Join host Gloria Bell, founder of the Women in Tech Summit, multi-hyphenate entrepreneur, and advocate for equity and equality in tech as she sits down with extraordinary guests from the WITS community. Listen in as they discuss wisdom from their career journeys, pro tips from their areas of expertise, and sneak previews of the biggest upcoming tech trends. This is Wits and Wisdom, a podcast from the Women in Tech Summit and Inspiring Tech Foundation.
Hello, and welcome to Wits and Wisdom, a podcast sharing insights, innovation, and inspiration from the award-winning Women in Tech Summit. I'm your host, Gloria Bell, founder of WITS and the Inspiring Tech Foundation. You can find more information at womenintechsummit.com. But today, we're with Mayra Ruiz-McPherson. Mayra spoke about empathy in tech at WITS in DC, our very first event back in person. Today, she's on the podcast to talk about her work as a cyberpsychologist. Welcome, Mayra.
Nice to be here, Gloria.
A cyberpsychologist. I think that's a job title I haven't heard much about before. Let's start by breaking down exactly what a cyberpsychologist does. Would you say it's an academic field, a design field, a content field, a marketing field?
These are all great questions, and I'm going to answer them by maybe talking about what cyberpsychology is in order to understand what a cyberpsychologist does. If we break down the word cyberpsychology, we can derive three meanings from it. Cyber, we think of internet technologies. Psych obviously inspires the field of psychology, which is grounded on science and studies human behavior. And then anything with ology slapped at the end is really a branch of knowledge. And so when you take all that together, what you have is an emerging field of cyberpsychology, which is examining and exploring human behavior in the context of internet technologies. What would a cyberpsychologist do? Well, exactly just that, explore that intersection between human beings and their enmeshed interactions with digital and internet technologies. Just to give the audience an idea of where cyber-psychological moments may happen in our day-to-day existence would be obviously social media. But virtual communities, much like the WITS community, mobile device behavior, computer games and gaming, e-commerce, of course, anything medical online, cyberbullying, addictions to, for example, cyber porn, social media, cyber therapies, augmented reality, and so on, our enmeshed internet lives every single day.
If someone were to ask you what area at a company that a cyberpsychologist was most likely to work in, is there a particular area or could it be any area?
Is it an academic field? Is it a design field, a content field, or a marketing field? The answer is D, all of the above. It's a robust exploration that touches on all these things, right? Obviously, it is an academic field. You cannot be in this field without design being in it because the internet is a very visual medium. And then, of course, content is in there too because much of the internet, cyber technologies do incorporate some kind of contextual text communication aspect to it. And then marketing, it's not always marketing, but it does fall within that realm because marketing usually does control content and design. And so when it incorporates those facets under a marketing umbrella, sometimes that's called positive media psychology, where a cyberpsychologist would come in and look at how to enhance or improve the positive elements of a user's experience.
So a cyberpsychologist is going to help all of these different areas dig a little bit deeper, or probably sometimes a lot deeper, into the human thought process and the emotional side of how a customer might interact with the products we're producing on the internet.
The basement level, fundamental, is exactly what's happening now in many companies and brands for the user experience. But this added frosting layer of merging those proprietary requirements with ensuring that the community at large. There's a psychological wellness and positive experience above and beyond at the interface or marketing brand level.
It seems to value human-centered thinking in the age of the internet, which doesn't always happen.
Correct.
And so across the field of cyberpsychology, how do you bring that together? Can you give us maybe some examples?
At the end of the day, whatever the user is called, customers, patrons, supporters, advocates, friends, followers, whatever, they're all human beings. And so a cyber psychologist would really entrench their thinking in how to maximize that humanity within the underpinnings of any application or technology experience where a user interacts with a particular system. And so outside of the corporate 9-to-5 world, but not to exclude it, this topic of human-centeredness is becoming a lot more prevalent with the introduction of AI. Even before AI, there's this aspect of user experience influenced by what's called human interaction design, or human-computer interaction design. And that facet of study tends to be far more comprehensive than the product design of corporations because it encompasses a lot more scholarly disciplines. And if you think about how this is all being positioned as either human-like or better than humans, does it matter? What's the value there? If the AI can write it. People talk about replacing jobs, losing jobs, and this context of the technology, quote, does it better than the human? All these things bring questions about humanity and the value of humanity amidst such an AI-enabled, highly internet, digital cyber landscape that we live in every single day. And so it's someone like myself would be like, hey, we're Homo sapiens, we're not machines. And so how can we pull from the best of both worlds? Because they're both needed. They've been an integral part of our lives. So it's not about making one, quote unquote, better than the other, but finding that contextual synergy where they both work in tandem in a way that's effective, efficient, but does not keep eroding and chipping away at humanity.
I love that cyberpsychologists are really helping us bring that humanity really more to the center of what we are putting out in the internet, because it does feel like sometimes we're losing that.
I believe another reason why it's so important to have human-centered cheerleaders in this very AI-enabled world that we keep further immersing in. And I touched on it earlier, this authenticity. Like, does it matter that a human or a machine wrote X several years ago? It took about 30 minutes or so to clone your voice. Now it takes 3 seconds. 3 seconds. It's not just even efficiency, it's authenticity. If you can listen to an audiobook and not know that it's not Gloria reading the script for WITS, but it's mechanism of some kind. Your audience doesn't care, right? They think it's you. It sounds like you. It's got your essence and they're getting the information. Then does it matter? The Industrial Revolution brought about manufacturing. And so processes were mechanized through all these machines. And the outcome was so much more efficient. And then as the machines evolved in performance, then we have efficiency, accuracy, and speed better than the human workers. And this mantra, this way of life, we folded into the internet era, right? The thinking has stayed the same. I was just reading a study yesterday about one of the first official studies ever done on AI-enabled tools being brought into a customer service operation. I bring it up because although the study was very comprehensive and very well done, every element measured was human beings as workers in the face of these technologies for efficiency and accuracy. But at no point, and that study didn't set out to study what I'm about to say, so I get it. But I'm very excited to see perhaps studies coming out also to see how the workers, how they were impacted, not just how the AI tools introduced into the workplace impacted the bottom line of the department. Those are the areas where I believe that there are opportunities for cyber psychologists to really explore and blend them with the profit, workforce, attrition, retention, all that stuff. When the thinking out there is by default more on the favor of the machines than the humans, then there will be always a place for a cyber psychologist.
Clearly, cyber psychologists can have an impact on how AI is becoming so prevalent. But what are the unique skills that a cyber psychologist is bringing to successfully integrating AI into our lives?
I would like to answer that twofold. One is my own experience, and then what I see out there since I began on this path. I believe that my nearly 30 years of real world, hands-on experience with marketing technology, marketing and advertising technology, application development, anything under the marketing arsenal and tool set, including design, I feel for me has been the perfect coupling with cyber-psychological way of thinking and supporting and doing. This is not just unique to this field, but where you have people that go into an academic discipline and learn everything, soak up everything, but they don't have real world. Many of these disciplines require some real world component where I feel I had a lot of that to bring. But that's not the only experience, right? Cyber psychology does leverage a lot of psychological science. I think skill sets where you have experience with digital and cyber technologies is so key because it is cyber psychology. And if you have that, like I did, then you have to augment with the human psychology knowledge. And for someone who comes more from a psychological background, then they would need that real world digital cyber type of experience.
When we're talking about cyber psychology, especially interfacing with AI, do you see any unique responsibilities or ethical obligations that the cyber psychology field is bringing to interacting with AI or can assist with in our interactions with AI?
Well, the answer is not just yes, but it's a beyond yes. I have found that I can't even get to that space with people. And when I'm talking layman people that are not integrated with IT all day long like we are, like our audience is. In general, most people are not even aware of the basics of AI. And so there's a space for a cyber psychologist to help the public at large, including our community as well as beyond, to better connect those dots because there's so much contextual information missing. Anybody can talk about the nuts and bolts and the mechanics of AI. That's not what I'm talking about. You can go Google that up, no problem. I'm talking about the implications, the context, the short and long range potential. Nobody has a crystal ball, but where are the trends going? And then someone like myself makes meaning from the trends, derive foreseeable possibilities. And they could be right or wrong, but I think it's important to be able to look at all the data and make sense of it more so for like, hey, this is why you need to care about this. This is where we were, this is where we are now, and this is where we're headed. Like one could argue that one of the very, very first instances where we engaged with AI and didn't really know it was through social media. It became mainstream in the mid to late 2000s. We see mental wellness issues, right? Depression. We see misinformation through the roof, polarization in governments and societies, just from uploading pictures, uploading a JPEG, hitting like on something. 10 plus years later, we still haven't even been able to agree on how to regulate it. In parallel, here comes this new, souped up, more processing power version of AI, and we're still quabbling over if TikTok's going to be banned or not. So again, the answer is beyond yes, but I feel like there's some work to be done before we get to the hell yes.
You're on the cutting edge of this field. You are helping to bring it out of academia into the tech industry.
Yes.
So what is your vision for the future of this work?
I feel like as I've embarked on this journey and see things now, I find myself being drawn into that advocacy for literacy, right? Like AI literacy, the headlines say like everything's human-like, but if everything is human-like is equitable, right? They're equal or just about equal. And then you have other contexts where it's better. For example, the CEO of OpenAI refers to the ChatGPT and AI in general of today as not intelligence. He refers to it as super intelligence. Well, the super portion of that phrase implies more or better than humans, right? Some of these comparisons are very important because they seep into the psyche of the public, where I feel like a cyber psychological duty and responsibility to help remind everyone out there that we're not machines. We're uniquely Homo sapiens. And at WITS, I had mentioned to my audience specifically that back in Aristotle, Socrates' days, the thing that separates humans from animals is that we can think and be logical and rational. And so, we've given that to the machines because they're more logical in computational contexts than we can be. So what's another distinction between human and machines? They can't express emotion and stuff. Well, not really. There's an entire community day in and day out that is building effective computing. And I understand it may not match human emotional intelligence 100%, but does that even matter? Then does it even matter that it's synthetic emotional intelligence versus human-like? Society at large is convinced, intoxicated, and indoctrinated thinking that it doesn't matter. I'm here to say and remind people it does matter. We can have both, but be distinctly both versus be enmeshed. Ask yourself, what is the benefit or value of being Homo sapien? To me, what's left is our consciousness and our ability to learn and induction. That is the thin condom line right now between humans and machines. And I put it very frankly like that, Gloria, because I really think it needs to be heard in that fashion. I love the technology, but I love humanity even more. And so I'm hoping to bring some force to the balance of all glory. That's all I'm looking to do.
That sounds like a great future for this field. And how can someone learn more about entering this field to help you with this mission?
I've written a post on Medium about what is cyberpsychology. And at the bottom of that post, I have some resources for getting started. But in this field in particular, it's still just getting started. It's quite new. And so I would just encourage interested people to basically go Google it and see who's writing about it and see what their titles are and where they studied or came from. Or there's no single source of knowledge in this regard.
This has been such great information. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience has learned a lot more about cyberpsychology. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
Yes. Okay. So my website is cyberpsychologist.media. All my contact information is there, and I'm pretty active on LinkedIn about these subjects. I think that would be a great starting point.
Wonderful. Mayra, thank you so much for joining us again. I'm so glad we got a chance to dive in a little deeper about cyberpsychology and really give people an understanding more of the discipline and your view of it and where it's going. And I have to tell you, I'm very intrigued, and I completely agree with you. If it's a way to keep humanity in the technology, we need a lot more people going into this field.
No, I think it has so much value and helpful context in all facets of industries. It would be great if only one person jumped on this bandwagon. I would be thrilled.
And thank you to all of our listeners. We're so glad you joined us again for Wits and Wisdom. And be sure and listen for more upcoming episodes. And be sure and visit womenintechsummit.com for information on our upcoming summits. And we will see you on the next Wits and Wisdom.
Thank you, everybody.
Ready to learn more about the Women in Tech Summit? Visit our website at womenintechsummit.net. That's womenintechsummit.net to view our most up-to-date event schedules, calls for speakers, and sponsorship opportunities. If you enjoyed this episode, bookmark the show, give us a follow, or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps us educate, inspire, and connect with even more movers and shakers within and beyond the technology industry. Thanks for listening, and see you here again soon on Wits and Wisdom, a podcast from the Women in Tech Summit and the Inspiring Tech Foundation.